thought we'd spend some time evaluating the recent coaching hires and evaluating the searches. And we're going to do that today, starting with Florida. A reminder that today's sponsor is Strong Coffee Company. Thanks to the Strong Coffee Company, you can receive 20% off using the link, which is pinned below in the comments. They've got great product. Give them a shot. It's a way to support us. So make their phone ring if you would, or make their email ring or whatever digitally. Please hit that subscribe button as well. It's free. We're trying to bring you the best football information from a coaching and scouting viewpoint, which is a little different than maybe some others. We are here to serve you. The way to do that is to help us grow and stay free. Hit that subscribe button so that we can do that. Florida got, I think, a outstanding candidate. Look, let me tell you this, and you will hear the narrative from media folks who really don't know. Most of the time when people are evaluating coaches, they look at statistics, wins and losses, and they try to equate that and make some sense of it. Florida hired a G5 coach from the state of Louisiana after firing a G5 coach from the state of Louisiana. It's not going to work, right? It's stupid, right? One has nothing to do with the other. Jon Sumrall will succeed or fail based on his abilities. They're two different type guys. I think that needs to be understood. And it's important that it's like when evaluating players. You have to understand how to evaluate the skill sets, the critical factors, and the position specifics for that particular position. A player going from high school to college, a player going from college to the NFL, and a coach going from one level to another and one school to another. Understanding that if you understand their skill sets and what they're good at, and you have access to know who does what, and you study film to see what people do, and you understand what that film shows and tells about it, and you can follow that up with communication with folks, you can learn a lot. It doesn't mean it's going to always work. There are circumstances coaches fall into that are maybe beyond their control. Lane Kiffin was Florida's target. There's no mistake about that. People who will be frustrated because they did not get him. Understand that, if that's who you want. That's certainly who the fan base wanted. I don't think Scott Strickland was as hung up on Lane Kiffin. In fact, he had some reservations about him, and I think it showed up. A couple of things that stood out to me. It was a feeling that the Lane Kiffin camp, his representatives in Lane, felt like Jon didn't have a great appreciation for the scope of how he handles himself. Maybe the drama and things that come with Lane Kiffin is not something he was excited about, maybe even turned off about. And how can I put it? Maybe tough to control. He didn't say that. He didn't, intimate that in any way, but that's a sense that they had from a viewpoint of Kiffin. So that and the fact that I think their NIL process is good, great ideas, but not as buttoned up as what LSU's is. I give Florida a lot of credit for pivoting. We explain you guys that Florida was not going long before. I put out one post, right, and did a video on could Ole Miss and Florida flip Lane Kiffin. Some people say, oh, he can't flip him. He's going to go to Florida. We knew he wasn't going to Florida. We knew that it wasn't going to happen. Unless a Hail Mary took place and something happened negative with him and LSU, and I think he would have stayed at Ole Miss before going to Florida. That's the way it appeared. So that's what we felt like. It is really important that Florida pivoted and pivoted quickly enough, because we talked about the domino effect of when Lane was going to get hired. Everything was going to go at lightning speed. They got Jon Sumrall, who is, I think, an outstanding coach. I love the way he coaches, his toughness, his discipline, his organization, his understanding how to assemble a staff, his defensive background that puts a lot of emphasis on winning at the line of scrimmage, yet with an understanding of modern offenses and how that needs to be implemented into the system. I think he's really good. I'm not so sure that if I was LSU, I would have gone in that direction. Obviously, I think Lane's going to do a great job, but I think that Florida's got an outstanding coach. He's got experience coaching too. It's not that he's got a 41-11 record and 4 seasons at head coach at Tulane and Troy. Yeah, that's important. He didn't build the Tulane program. Willie Fritz did, but boy, he took it and he built it up. Boy, did he do a good job at Troy. He understands how to build, and when you know how to do that, and you know how to assess the competition, and you know how to go about putting things together with greater resources that he's going to have, that's what's key, the skill set that I'm talking about. They had done their homework on Jedd Fisch, who's done a really good job at Washington. Timing's not right there. They did kick the tires on Pat Fitzgerald. They did talk to, Clark Lee and Eli Drinkwitz, but the word kind of got out by their agents that Clark and Eli were not going to make the cut. Neither was Pat Fitzgerald. But as it relates to Lee and Eli, they got better deals where they are, extensions, because of the interests that Florida showed. I do think that Jedd Fisch was probably a direction they would have gone if Sumrall was off the table. But they identified Jon Sumrall as their next best guy if they weren't going to get Lane. And they pivoted in time to make sure that they got him. I think it's a really good hire. I also think that the commitment that they're making, and I think Billy Napier doesn't get enough credit for getting Florida up to speed on how you, at least football operations at the major college level, should look. A lot of credit goes there. I know he didn't win enough, and that's why he's not there. But I think Jon Sumrall is going to be the benefactor of that. Like the hire, think it's really good. I know it's popular to say, hey, good hire. But again, hopefully I've given you some insights into what makes him a good hire. So we'll see how it plays out. We don't know, and I do think that the hiring I would have preferred if Scott would have waited to hire the general manager, Dave Caldwell, along with Jon, and let Jon be a part of that process. I think that's really important. I think maybe having that out there that Florida was looking to do that was another thing that turned Lane Kiffin off. Even though they weren't going to saddle Lane Kiffin with a general manager, just the fact that maybe, LSU, quite frankly, just laid out the red carpet. Florida had some ideas that they wanted to throw in with Lane, and I think Lane, like a lot of guys with big egos, they're being courted. It's going to be their way or the highway. And so that's how it played out. And that's who they got. Thanks again to the Strong Coffee Company. Elevate your coffee routine with the Strong Coffee Company's Black Instant Blend and Lattes. use the link that we have for 20% off your order right here at the bottom. Hit the subscribe button, like, share. Talk to you again next time, everybody.